A Missouri judge has cleared Trump-backed U.S. House districts for November use, locking in the map that will shape control of Congress for millions of voters. This is Omni View, episode 149. A Missouri judge ruled that new congressional districts supported by President Donald Trump can be used in the November elections. The decision rejected a challenge seeking a statewide public vote on the boundaries. The map favors Republican candidates in several seats. The ruling comes after state lawmakers drew the lines under Republican control. Supporters of the map argue it reflects population shifts and maintains compact districts that respect county lines. Opponents contend the boundaries were crafted to maximize Republican seats beyond what voter patterns alone would produce. The dispute centers on whether redistricting authority belongs to the legislature or requires broader voter approval in this case. Missouri voters had previously approved a 2018 amendment aimed at limiting partisan map drawing, yet the new lines still advanced through the regular legislative process. The AP News account of the ruling notes that the judge explicitly allowed the districts to stand for the coming election cycle without further delay. Republican-aligned officials maintain that the legislature holds primary authority under the state constitution to set district lines after each census. They add that the approved map follows traditional redistricting criteria, such as equal population and contiguity, while incorporating updated census data. They note that similar legislative maps have withstood prior court review and that shifting to a popular vote would introduce new uncertainty into an already tight national election calendar. Democratic challengers and reform groups counter that the 2018 amendment was explicitly intended to curb self-interested map drawing by the party in power. They argue that allowing the current lines without a public vote undermines the amendment's goal of producing districts that more closely track statewide voting patterns. They point out that the rejected referendum would have given voters a direct check on boundaries drawn by one party. The map will now guide candidate filings and campaigning for the November elections. Further legal challenges remain possible before ballots are finalized. Shifting now to a developing story in the Central African Republic. Rescue workers in Western Central African Republic reported that more than 100 people died after a gold mine collapsed. Local officials and Red Cross volunteers confirmed the updated toll on Wednesday. The incident occurred in a region where artisanal mining supports many households amid limited formal employment options. International aid groups have previously noted weak safety oversight in such small-scale operations across parts of Africa. The Central African Republic government has faced ongoing challenges coordinating emergency response in remote areas. The AP report highlights statements from both a Red Cross volunteer directly involved in relief and a local official who verified the rising count. Recovery efforts continue at the site while authorities assess whether additional collapses could occur in similar mines. Meanwhile, in financial markets, minutes from India's central bank showed a firm stance on inflation. A softer U.S. dollar and bond buyback steps supported the rupee. The currency rose against the dollar in recent trading. The Reserve Bank of India has been balancing domestic price pressures with external market swings. Traders noted that oil price risks remain a concern for import costs. The moves follow earlier volatility tied to global energy markets. Reuters reporting emphasizes that the hawkish tone in the minutes, combined with Treasury bond buyback activity, helped ease downward pressure on the currency. Market participants will watch upcoming inflation data and any further central bank signals on rate policy. Next, health authorities detected the first case of screwworm in Sonora, a parasitic fly that affects livestock. The finding marks an expansion from earlier detections in neighboring areas. Screwworm outbreaks can spread quickly among cattle herds and require coordinated containment. Mexico has worked with the United States on eradication programs for decades. The new case raises questions about how far monitoring systems must extend. Reuters coverage notes the detection was confirmed through official channels in the state. Officials are expected to expand trapping and treatment zones to limit further spread. Turning to corporate earnings, SK Hynix reported strong results driven by memory chip demand. The results prompted discussion on how the company and peers will deploy accumulated cash. Analysts noted competing pressures between shareholder returns and new investment. South Korean technology firms have built large cash reserves during recent semiconductor cycles. Some investors favor higher dividends or buybacks, while company leaders emphasize the need for research spending to stay competitive in advanced chips. The pattern echoes earlier cycles where export strength coexisted with domestic calls for broader capital distribution. Reuters' Breaking Views analysis frames the SK Hynix results as setting expectations for how other Korean exporters may handle similar choices. In retail news, sales growth at Lululemon has slowed as newer brands capture attention in the athletic apparel market. The company is adjusting product lines and store strategies. The activewear sector expanded rapidly after 2020, but shoppers now show more interest in varied styles and price points. Established players must decide whether to broaden offerings or defend core segments. Rivals have gained shelf space in both specialty and mass market channels. The Economist piece describes how Lululemon's once dominant position in everyday athletic wear has eroded as competitors introduce alternatives. Now, some progress worth knowing about. Travelodge announced that its chief executive Joe Boydell is stepping down, while the UK hotel chain continues to overhaul safety measures following a sex assault at one of its properties. The company has stated it is implementing changes to security protocols and staff training across its locations. The BBC report notes that the overhaul follows the identification of the incident and subsequent review of operational practices. Such steps reflect broader industry attention to guest safety standards in budget hotel operations. The chain is expected to complete the safety review and publish updated procedures for all sites. Now, to really understand this story, there is something most coverage leaves out. Most coverage treats redistricting as a simple technical update after each census, yet the process is shaped by state constitutions, court rulings, and the timing of elections. State legislatures normally draw the lines, but some states have created independent commissions or added voter approval steps, as Missouri did in 2018. Once maps are enacted, they face legal challenges that can stretch for months. The U.S. Supreme Court has limited federal court intervention in partisan disputes. Knowing this, when you hear claims that a map is fair or rigged, you can check whether the boundaries follow equal population rules and whether they were reviewed under the state's own procedures rather than national standards. The last 3 national redistricting cycles show that maps drawn early in the decade tend to remain in place through multiple election cycles, unless successfully challenged in state court. One concrete thing to check is whether a state's constitution requires a public referendum on new maps or leaves final approval with the legislature alone. Court records from Missouri show the 2018 amendment created an additional layer of review that the current case tested directly. If you want to go deeper on the Missouri ruling, compare how AP News and local Missouri reporting frame the same district ruling. Tomorrow, watch for updates on whether officials expand trapping zones after the first screwworm detection in Sonora. That's OmniView. As always, compare outlets, look for primary documents, and separate what's known from what's assumed. The world is complicated, but it's not beyond understanding, and you just spent a few minutes understanding it better. If that's worth something to you, subscribe wherever you listen. See you tomorrow. And if you'd rather watch than listen, find us on YouTube at NARA Network. Links in the show notes. One more thing. If you liked today's episode, our sister show, Fascinating Frontiers, is worth a spot in your feed. The most fascinating news from space and science. It's one of the NARA Network's daily briefings, all free at naranetwork.com. Prefer reading? Today's full write-up, sources, and transcript are on the episode blog at naranetwork.com. Same briefing, readable format. This episode used AI voice synthesis of my voice. Editorial selection and analysis are my own.